Alright, how y'all doing out there? This is Pete over at SWRNC, but today we're over at D.I.Y. Auto School because we're working on a classic pickup truck. It's a 1966 Chevy. Yeah, there it is right behind me there. And we're to the point where we are refinishing the front end assembly. Now when I say assembly, I'm talking about the hood, the fenders, the grill shell, this, that, and the other. We ran into a situation with the fenders, which is very common on these old trucks, is that there's a lot of rot and rust on them.
Welcome to D.I.Y. Automotive School with my friend Pete and Minnie, the body shop girl. It's everything you need to know about cars and more.
If we look right here, you can see the rot and the rust that I'm talking about. This is it right here. This is actually filled with Bondo, but the rust also travels up the edge of the fender. And what's common on these fenders, on these Chevy trucks, is that water and debris will travel from the top and then end up in the bottom. And if we look at the back of this fender, if I can get it up, you can see this structure right here. You can see this metal structure that this fender has. And the water and every debris travels down and it stays right here in this little pocket, and then of course causes a reaction of rust. So the design really wasn't that great. They should have put a drain plug type, a drainage system in that, but they didn't do it. And this is what leads us to now we got to repair the fucking fender. So there's two ways that we can actually repair this fender. We can actually go ahead and cut this piece out using our cutoff wheel, which is right here. And then of course we cut this little section out this way and then weld a new section in here. Or we can go another route, which would make more sense on these type of fenders, and that is buying a fender extension piece just like this, and go ahead and cut the piece out that we need, which is already molded, already fabricated all the way around the edges and everywhere, and then go ahead and place that on there and line it up, cut it out, weld our new piece in, and be done with it. Now I'd like to give a little information about these fender extensions. This is for people that this might be their first go around on doing something like this. If you happen to buy a fender extension and it happens to be half the fender just like this, or you can buy a quarter panel extension and it's the same way, it's the whole side view of the quarter panel, doesn't necessarily mean that you have to replace all of this fender all the way to here. What they're doing is they are giving you enough of the fender, enough of the section where you'll be able to cut it out where you need it. For instance, if it was rotted and rusted up in this area, we can go ahead and cut this out, weld it in here. Or maybe it was just this fender lip that was rusted. Then we can take this fender lip, cut it off, weld it in here. So this is actually called a fender extension replacement panel. Let's not get it confused that this is actually a whole fender and that we need to replace this whole piece to make this piece work. Does that make sense? If it didn't, I'm sorry. I'm trying to explain it the best way possible for you, Mr. DIY guy, to figure it out. So now that we understand the basics and the technical lingo on what the fuck's going on here, let's go ahead and proceed to replace this section with our new section. Now I will tell you one thing, and this is going to be a fact. After aftermarket parts are not identically the same as the original. And when we get to that step, I'm going to show you that this is not exactly identically 100% perfect. So when you purchase aftermarket parts, always remember that and keep in mind that you know, it's going to take a little bit of this, that, and the other to really make that aftermarket piece work properly. So the first thing that we want to do is make sure that we cover our truck, because we don't want to get sparks, this, that, and the other on our brand new restored vehicle, because a truck takes up many square foots of space, and we're basically crunched in here like a fucking sardine with trucks. So we want to make sure that the truck is covered because we really can't move it at this time. So if you're working on any other vehicles in your shop or in your garage and you happen to be doing this type of work, make sure that everything is covered, that you don't want to get ruined, because once we start flying sparks and welding, it will ruin your paint job, and it will definitely ruin the glass. So to make this simple and easy, what we're going to do is we're going to take a tape measure and hook it right on the bottom of that lip right there, and we're going to measure up approximately 2.5 inches, 2 to 3 inches up from where our rust is stopping. Now, if you look right here, this is where our rust is, right there. I don't know if you can see that in the camera, but this is the rust on this fender right here, where I just marked it in black. So we want to go about 2 inches up from that, which is going to bring us to approximately, we'll say 10.5 inches. So once we mark that, we want to go ahead and take our tape measure and transfer the 10.5 inches over here, or somewhere in that area. It doesn't have to be perfect. And now we know how much of that fender extension we're going to need. We'll then take our tape, using the tape as a straight line, and getting it as straight as possible. We really don't have to be precise on this, but we want to make sure that we get it as nice and clean as possible, because tidiness is something that we need to think of here. We need to think of accuracy, tidiness, cleanliness, and most of all, patience! What we're going to do, and I'm going to use a cutoff wheel. You can use anything from an air saw to a jigsaw, whatever you got that will cut a nice precise line, use it. I'm going to go ahead and take my cutoff wheel, and I'm going to go ahead and cut this section off of the fender extension that we purchased. Did you turn my air compressor on? Motherfucker! No wonder my shit ain't working, because Weekly Loser isn't on top of things. Now what you just saw right there was a little example of if you own your small business, your own small business, you can't rely on a fucking employee to do anything for you, but do what he wants to do. That was his job. His job is to turn the air compressor on every fucking morning that he gets here, but did he? No. So now we gotta wait for our air to catch up so we can fucking finish cutting our fender extension. The employee, me, doing his job, sitting on his fucking ass, reading his magazines. And then once you finally get it cut off, and you don't need all the rest of the shit, it's time to move on down the fucking line. Thanks to the employee for being on top of things so I can get the job done. is I am going to use a scribe tool. I don't want to use a magic marker, and I'm going to show you why, because this cut has to be really precise. So what we'll do is take our scribe tool and just scribe down the edge of our fender extension, making sure that we hold it in place very tight and marking it just like so. Now we're not done right there. That's not our final measurement. All that did for us is tell us how big of a piece that we're going to use to replace with. And what we are going to do though is we're going to remeasure, and the reason we're remeasuring is because we are using a tool called a flange tool. Now this is very, very important to use this tool for this, and what this does, that makes a little stair step for our metal replacement piece to actually fit down in, and when we put the flange tool on it, this will actually sit down in flush mount with the fender. So what we got to do is we actually got to measure from this line down and then start removing our old rotted, rusted piece. So the best way to do that is measure the flange tool, and that comes out to be approximately a little under 1 inch. So what we're going to do is we're going to come down from our mark, we're going to come down an inch over here, and then we're going to come down an inch over here. And that is why I told you to measure up from the rust approximately 2 inches. Actually, you know what? I just fucked up. I don't want to do that 1 inch. I actually want to go up to about ½ inch because I want my flange to raise up past our line. If you go 1 inch, then the flange will be too low, and then the metal will override the flange, and then you'll have to do it all over. So we want to go approximately a ½ inch. We want to go a ½ inch from that. That's it. So if I wouldn't have thought about that, we would have really fucked up, and I would have been pissed off, and you get the picture. Because by raising it up a ½ inch is actually going to raise our flange up a ½ inch, and then when we put our piece on, this should line up where we have just enough space there to weld all that together, and it will, by using that flange, what will happen is it will stop this piece from warping because this metal is actually underneath this metal. Something like that. So once again, we'll go ahead and take our tape, using our tape as a nice, good straight line, just like so. And then from there, we're going to go ahead and remove this section off of the fender. All right, hold on. What's up, Eddie? What's going on? Hot Rod Eddie, Guy Eddie. What's up? Now you're going to the doctors. What's going on, bud?
Well, could be surgery done on me.
You got some surgery you got to get done?
2 times.
You got a hernia. You got a double hernia.
Double hernia.
But we don't even know how you got it, Eddie.
I don't know. I don't know how you get them. I know how it's.
Are you going to be back to let us know how the outcome is on that situation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We got Hot Rod Eddie over here. He decided to join us and visit for a little while. Obviously, something is going on inside his internal organs. He's got a double hernia, and he's got to go get emergency surgery. Well, on Friday?
Right.
Got to go get it on Friday. And we're all praying and hoping that Hot Rod Eddie is going to be okay. Am I right, Eddie? Okay, well, we're hoping the best for you, bud. Come back next week, see what's going on.
I will.
All right. Well, let me get to work over here, bud. I gotta get to. You take care, Eddie.
Okay.
All right, bud. Keep your thumbs up all the time. So a little prayer goes out to Eddie, the hot rod guy. and or should we say Eddie the van guy. He used to own a van. He doesn't own it anymore. The motor blew out in it, and yeah, let's get back to work and hopefully try to make some sense out of this bullshit motherfucking Fender. So as we look at the back of the Fender here, we see that there was already some repair been done to it right here. We see that somebody put some kind of piece of sheet metal back here and repaired this at one time. And we also notice that this dog leg right here is pretty much rotted out. Wow. That's not a good sign. So what we got to do is, if you look right here, you can see where the skin, the fender skin, rolls over just like a door skin. And this is where our tape line is that we're going to cut it off, and it goes all the way over to here. So we got to remove this this rolling edge right here, and then I'm sure there's going to be some spot welds. If we look in this area right here, where we at, there we are, you can see the spot welds that we're going to have to remove as well. Once we get that done, then this outer skin should come off with ease. Need you to flip it over. Alright, now that we have made our mark right here, we know where to stop when we start grinding that lip off. And what we're going to do that, to get that lip off properly, we're going to take our grinding wheel with 36 grit, and then we'll go ahead and just use our grinder until it splits this seam in half. Now, normally we'd go ahead and drill these spot welds out, but since this metal here is thicker than that metal and we don't really give a fuck about the skin, what we're going to do is we are just going to take our air chisel and then we'll bust the spot welds off using our air chisel. Okay, loser, we got a problem. Go sharpen our chisel bit, please. Please, sir. Okay, normally what I was trying to tell you is that we would take a drill and go ahead and drill them spot welds out, but in this case, we really don't have to, because the inner structure is a thicker gauge steel and it's not going to get ruined. So we'll just take a nice sharp chisel bit, cut those spot welds off so we can remove that outer skin to put the other skin on. Plain and simple. I don't fucking believe this fucking mess. I really fucking don't. Don't fucking believe it. Loser! We got a situation. Alright, I'm going to ask you, an employee that's been here for I don't know how long, if you're even an employee at all, what do you see that's the problem is here? What kind of problem do you venture working on this and taking this off? As I'm rolling the camera.
You're going to lose this.
That's right, that's right.
It's all rusted out.
So what we got to do before we take all this off, what we got to do is we have got to actually literally weld this on here.
Yeah.
We have got to get a piece of sheet metal and weld this back together to hold it, and then possibly in the process probably weld all this back on as well.
You got to rebuild.
We can't even take the fender apart, because if we do, what's going to happen is all this is going to fall off and then we're going to be fucked. Set the bitch up there so I can do that, okay? And then you can go back doing something else. So this little video set started out to just replace a part of the fender, just to replace the rusted area, and now it's turning out to be a major overhaul of construction work that's going to take hours and hours. Let me go ahead and repair that piece. What I'll do is I will literally cut it out, add some metal here, weld this back together, do that, what I got to do, and then we'll be back to finish out the process of how to replace the fender rust on your fucking truck with an aftermarket piece that probably won't fucking look right or work right, but we'll have to make work because that's the situation we have. You get the idea. You get the idea.
Thanks for watching D.I.Y. Automotive School. Classes don't stop till you know everything.